Welcome to My Why, a series of personal stories that share the history and impact of YPN, the premier provider of prenatal and parenting programs in East Central Iowa. We support, educate, and empower families since 1985. Join us in our mission and learn the why YPN for so many in our community.
Welcome to another episode of My Why. My name is Alejandro Pino, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as Executive Director of YPN. And I was just telling a few folks that I'm coming up on my 6th year, which is absolutely crazy. It's been a fantastic ride, and many of the reasons why it's been so fantastic are the people that, again, surround this amazing organization. And I have the honor today of speaking to the head honcho. And the head honcho is the new board chair, so she's my new boss. Alison Kaster from UFG, United Fire Group, is here to answer some questions for us. So welcome, Alison.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you like how I called you the head honcho?
I do.
Feel powerful, don't you? Gosh, no. You know, it's striking, and I know I say this often, especially with the people that we've interviewed on the podcast. There's a reason why you were selected, and one of the reasons is not only for being the board chair, but just for being a wonderful volunteer to the organization. And many of the reasons why YPN is who we are today is because of who surrounds the organization. The board are a group of amazing individuals, and I mentioned this earlier today, that are in it for the right reason. And the reason is because they love the mission of the organization and why we do what we do. So many of the questions I'm going to ask you today, head honcho, revolve around that. Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit just about yourself, maybe a little bit of your background, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Sure. Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Cedar Rapids, and so I've lived here the majority of my life, which makes this community maybe even a little more special to me. I went off to college at Luther in Decorah, Iowa.
The Norse?
Go North, that's right, yeah.
There you go.
Spent a few years in Des Moines and then came back here to be near family. I got my MBA from the University of Iowa and have 3 children that take up a lot of time, but they are wonderful.
Yeah.
I have a sister and my mom who live in Cedar Rapids, and just lots of busyness this summer and in general in life. My kids are 7, 9, and 11, so lots of things going on at home.
So you get the
right now.
parenting thing.
Yes,
the
for
craziness
sure.
of
but
it, at least,
right? But I have a wonderful husband who does a lot to help with everything.
Oh, I love it.
It's great. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you do at UFG. What's your role there again?
So I'm the business unit leader for small business, which means we provide insurance for small business owners. And it's something that is a really huge passion of mine because I think it's so important to support those small business owners. They're such a huge part of the economy in this country.
For sure.
And to have insurance is a really important thing, to keep them on their feet when things happen. And so it's been a fun ride. I've been doing that role for about 5 years now. I've been at UFG for 18 years. So I've been around for a while.
Yeah, and it's been great to kind of see you, not only changing roles, but just keep, you're doing great work over there as well, too. So they're lucky to have you for sure. Can you share a little bit just about the history that you've had at YPN and what led you to it?
Yeah. Well, so UFG, one of the things that's so important is supporting our community. And UFG has been a strong supporter of YPN for many years, as you know.
Yes.
And so we had a board member at UFG who left the organization, and that created an opportunity for me to join. Mm-hmm. And that was in 2016. So that was quite a few years ago. She departed. I was able to join. And the first time I met Brian and visited YPN, it was just such a cool experience because I got to see the impact that YPN has on the community. And I knew that it was a great fit for me. It was an opportunity presented. It wasn't required. But once I got to know YPN and understand what YPN was doing in the community, I was excited to join.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we're so happy that you said yes to serving. And as you mentioned, and I want to commend also UFG because of that dedication to the community as well too, and YPN has certainly been a grateful recipient of some of that kindness as well. So thanks to UFG and to many other organizations too that have chosen to to give back. I think it's super important, and it's so helpful, especially to the families that we serve, essentially, because it all helps that. So as you look at the time that you've had at YPN, how do you see it today? Like, what strikes you about the organization?
So as I said, I've been a member for 8 years.
Yeah.
And there's been so much change during that 8-year time period. It's been phenomenal to see the expansion into other counties, all of the additional programming. There's just been so much growth in the organization. It's been fun to witness and fun to support. And I have to commend you for all of the change and positive evolution of things that you've brought to YPN. It's been fantastic to see.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm blushing a little bit. But as you know, it's certainly a team effort. We have fantastic people that surround me and us every day as well, but I certainly appreciate those kind comments as well. As we talk, the main core of what we do at YPN are obviously the families that we serve.
Yes.
Right? So as you look at sort of that component, that core component, how do the families inspire you?
In so many ways is the short answer.
Yeah.
As I said, one more time, when I started, joined the board in 2016, I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old at that time. And so I was a new mom, and I understood all of the pressures, additional responsibility, maybe anxiety, and that was with a strong support network surrounding me.
Yes.
To imagine being a new parent without that network to support you is just not anything anyone wants to go through. And so that's part of what drew me to the organization, right, was just empathizing with the situation that those folks are in and knowing that there is an organization in Cedar Rapids that can support them and help them get on their feet, give them the proper skills to really grow. I always thought the We Care Shop was a super cool idea because I thought, what better way to support people than to offer them education that helps them become a better parent and then reward them for that by giving them, goods that they need to support their family.
That's right. Yeah, I love that. Kind of that empowerment piece is super important, right?
Absolutely.
I still remember, because you mentioned, kind of the craziness with the kids and the ages. I think I remember, if I remember correctly, you were getting your master's also, right?
I was.
Not only working and being a mom. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And you did it masterfully. So
Thank you.
Well done on that as well. You mentioned change. And are there certain things about the families that you have noticed, have changed in the time that you've been at YPN? And it could be the families, or it could be YPN in general. But are there certain changes that you've seen within the families?
Well, so it's interesting that you asked that question. As I was reflecting on preparing for today, I went back through some really old materials that I had. I have this YPN folder, and I had the annual report from 2015 that Brian had given me when I first joined the organization. And it was so fun to see, there are some things that always stay the same, right? The impact that YPN's having on those families, the support that they provide. I've heard so many cool stories over the years from different participants who find out that I'm on the board and then say, I had this experience a decade or 2 decades ago or whatever it may be, but this is the impact that it had in my life. And so there's that thread of continuity that always exists, which is really cool. But continuing to see more groups added, right? Additional services expanded, supporting new ethnicities, people from different countries that maybe we couldn't support before, and expanding the services to be able to provide them with what they need. It started with maybe a more singular focus 40 years ago, and now we've expanded into supporting all of these different groups, being able to specialize more with moms and dads and different needs is a really cool thing to see.
Yeah. And it's great that you mentioned that too, because certainly, we can't be everything to everybody, but really there's one universal item, and it's parenting. Parenting's kind of a universal deal. When you mention adding kind of our diverse communities, within YPN, it's important because we want everybody to feel like they're welcomed and included in our programming as well, because everybody needs that support regardless of where you come from, right? Certainly there's beautiful differences and uniqueness, but there's still that universal need for parenting support, and that's why I always love opening the door every day.
Well, and, as I watch the growth in the pool of participants, it's fun to see some of the events you've had with bringing different foods that they really enjoy and just exposing each other to other cultures. That's a really cool thing to see. It's fun to watch. And I again commend you for continuing to staff YPN appropriately to support those groups. That's intentional and it's important. And if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be able to support all of those folks in the way that you have. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that very much. So obviously you've already had an amazing impact, Alison, on the organization, but how do you hope to continue to impact the staff and the families and maybe in your new role right now too as a head honcho?
I have been around for many years, but I'm really excited in taking on this new role to get to know the staff even better, to get to know the participants better. Being on the board is an honor and a privilege, but maybe doesn't always get you the direct contact day to day with folks. And so I'm excited just to get to know them better and understand what additional needs there are. I've loved the planning sessions we've done to look forward into the future and think about how do we continue to grow, how do we continue to evolve and make YPN better. And so I'm really excited to partner with you and just have some of those conversations. There's so many things on the horizon that are really exciting. Yeah. And I'm just, I'm honored to be a part of that.
That's awesome. Well, we're honored to have you as well. So you talked a little bit about, the families and maybe some of the barriers, but are there some that you would like the community to know about with regard to how they could maybe help break some of those barriers or specific barriers that you see with the families or with YPN itself?
I think, and I've heard this before from others, even though, we live and breathe YPN and know what it has to offer, there's still an opportunity to continue to spread the news throughout the community. Yes. A lot of people still don't know who YPN is. And so, again, I think good steps have been taken. There's a lot more going on now than there was 5 years ago as far as social media presence and getting out in the community, continuing to try and find new ways to interact and connect with folks. But I think all of us can always help to support and continue to drive more people to understand what YPN has to offer just by getting the word out. But additionally, financial support's always appreciated, right? We're always looking for financial support. It takes money to keep an organization going. It takes money to pay that phenomenal staff that do the day in and day out work. So there's always a financial need. There are volunteers. You have a great community of volunteers, but we always need more volunteers. Whether it's working in the We Care shop or doing other things. And so I know UFG a few times has gotten employee groups together. We're looking forward to doing another one. And there are a lot of other organizations in the community that do the same, whether it's packaging diapers or other needs that that YPN has. There are so many ways to give back. And I think, Kim did a great job of identifying different opportunities for the board, but that extends beyond the board, right? It can be any volunteer. There's so many different ways to give back and support YPN. Yeah,
that's right. No, and you did a great job of answering that question too, especially the first point that you made too. We don't always, because we hear this often, we don't want to continue being a hidden treasure, right? Right. Because we know that the need is out there, and certainly we've seen it by the number of people that we continue to add on a daily basis to our programming, but we also want everybody to know that we're around. So the more we can do to kind of spread that out, the better, and the better impact that we'll have.
And I think that's happening by expanding into additional communities, that's the work that's happening in Jones County. Yes. It's a great way to continue to let people know.
That's exactly right. Yeah. All right. So we've come to the last question. Well, sort of. I'm going to ask kind of a fun question after this one, too.
Okay.
But what is your why? What's your why, Alison?
That's such a big question. My immediate thought and response is always, I want to be a great mom. I want to be a great wife. I want to support my family. But that's why I connect with YPN in so many ways, because that's what YPN is doing. It's helping families become stronger and better. And I think sometimes we forget the foundational elements of having a strong family unit and how that helps children be successful, how it helps parents be successful, and it makes our community stronger because of it. So, on a personal basis, my why, it's very close to home, but then that extends when I want to, look at how I give back to the community or support different things. It's helping to kind of extend that beyond the walls of my home to the walls of others' homes as well.
Love it. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. All right, can I ask you one fun question?
Sure.
If you weren't in this role, what other work could you see yourself doing and why? This is going to be, I really want to hear this one.
So I actually thought about this one, and I thought, I should have some great answer, like I'm going to go save the world. I love animals. And I love dogs specifically. And I've seen these people that adopt all these dogs that are, near the end of their lives, and they have these big pet sanctuaries.
Yes.
And so I've thought maybe someday when I retire, I can have a pet sanctuary.
Okay.
But if money weren't an issue and I could just go do what I want to do now, just save all the dogs.
You might do that. Save the dogs. Save the dogs, everybody. That's awesome. I love that. See, that's a new thing we didn't know.
There you go.
So do you like spiders and stuff too, or just
not particularly?
Okay, but just other
the
bigger
fluffier,
animals.
the better.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, Alison, and thank you, number one, for saying yes to doing the podcast, but more importantly, just for saying yes to serving. And again, I know that it takes effort. I know that this is an addition to the great work that you're doing at UFG. But again, on behalf of myself, the staff, the families that we serve, the board, thank you for saying yes and stepping up. Not everybody does it, and you said yes to it. So thank you so very much for everything that you have done and will continue to do. And
You're
again,
welcome.
Thanks for the great chat.
Thanks for having me. It was
Absolutely.
fun.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to My Why, a YPN podcast. We can't make our impact without your support. Please consider donating to YPN. Your gift will make a difference. Visit www.ypniowa.org/give to donate today.